All right, welcome to Pass the Mic. It is Friday, July 31st, 2026, episode 214, last day of July. Mike Gervasi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Summer's moving quickly. Enjoying the dog days of summer here, I guess, huh?
For sure. Yep.
Feedback and errors from last week. Max Bailey had a ton going for us. He knew I was going to call he knew I was going to pick the sausage race as my underrated. He had a great one, some ceremonial first pitch as an underrated. That was a good one because I think that's a pretty cool way to honor community members, players coming back. And he also points out the funny videos sometimes when someone totally botches it and does an awful job, which is a good one as well. So he had that to say. Denise Browning answered our question too about how Warren grew big. Was the Warren Tech Center up there? Have you ever seen it up there? It goes from like miles.
I have not. No.
It's a big. The auto industry basically built it there, and it's like one of those things: build it and they will come, right? Like it's. It was so that added to the size of the schools there. And then Coach Tony, winner of one of our two shirts, said they listened on the road trip, and we got 2 eye rolls from Patricia Saavedra.
Yeah, he wasn't specific about those though. He didn't tell us what the eye rolls were about.
I don't know, maybe him winning the prize, I guess. I don't know, this is no offense. I mean, Tony can try to get it on. It is a small, maybe they might have to give it to Noah. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't get it on. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to poke any fun anywhere. So you got anything else?
Yeah, you know what? Okay, first off, I meant to say Jill Burguy. I said Jill Bailey, which ironically...
I corrected you on that in episode, but I'm sure that piqued some interest.
Max's sister's name, very interesting. Yes. Max's sister's, maiden name. She is married. Carlos, wonderful guy. Max had a nice quote here from Dean Smith, the late, great Dean Smith, coach of North Carolina. Athletics was the front porch to his school. I think that's a pretty cool way of putting it. Hadn't thought about that. Another one from Max. How about black shoes in the playoffs? So he really gave us a lot of feedback on that topic. There's a lot more gritty, gutty Skiles. You can't say his name without those adjectives. I don't know how well liked he was, though. I know a lot of NBA players didn't like him as a coach, but that probably is part of that mentality he had. And if I'm not mistaken, do you remember, Mike, did he and maybe Max, I won't even look this up, did he get himself in a little bit of trouble in college? I don't remember what for.
I'm sure it was reported on in depth, unlike anything that happens in Ann Arbor.
Whoa!
I'm sure there was a whole investigative report done by Wojo. Front page news, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay.
He stole a bag of chips from the party store up there in Grand River.
Max also commented on Scoobal's fall from grace around here, which I agree with, and we might be seeing his last start tomorrow. With
you might be colleagues. In person. Yeah.
Tom Pack joins Gervasi in the air department. He misspelled the Ren Dog's name.
Yeah, I mean, and he reached out to us, in fairness to Tom, and said he wasn't sure, so he just went with one because not, and the Ren Dog. It was corrected, I believe. I gotta, that reminds me. I haven't sent out that image and link. I usually do it like on Monday of the week after. I need to do that. I'm glad you brought it up. We're way ahead of the game this week. We're recording this on Tuesday the 28th.
This is Tuesday, yeah. So I think that's a little bit of lack of preparation because we never do it this early. So this is kind of rare. As soon
as I'm done recording, I'm going to post those links on Instagram and our Facebook with Tom the Great Pitcher.
Gary Bailey, quick comments. I hope Mike Cox grew up in Redford Township, not Redford, which most locals refer to as Old Redford, a part of Detroit. Ask Max. Per most urban economists, I took more than one course. 2 things aided and encouraged white flight for the suburbs. Highway system, i.e. Lodge in 94. The second was the expansion of the Detroit water system. Let me touch upon the first because that was actually a Cold War thing that, as it turns out, became part of the reason for white flight. So Gary is correct to point that out. I thank him for that. The Ren Dog corrected me. Speaking of the Ren Dog, the aforementioned Ren Dog, he corrected me. Jay Billis was not released from ESPN. And Mike, listen, I don't know why people And first off, I stand by my statement. I still think ESPN is doing a disservice to its viewers. I'm glad they kept Billis. He's outstanding, knowledgeable, so forth and so on. But I do think they've gotten rid of some outstanding talent in the past. Why do people post that stuff? Why did I fall for it? I always tell the students.
I mean, that's a light one. I mean, the stuff that people post all the time.
You're right, but
and
why?
that's
What's the point? I don't understand the point
just
of it.
to be. I think they think they're funny, and they think they got because they've some people have been really got you like big time reporters and stuff. You know what I mean? Like with deaths and those sorts of things. So they're really trying for that. They're not trying to. They don't care about fooling you.
I
They're
guess.
trying to, and that's why like anytime I see something. I try to not nowadays. It used to be I try to find one other source. I try to find like 2 or 3 other sources before I text somebody or say something.
That's fair.
Most of the time now I just give up. I don't say anything because I don't want to deal with it. Better to be quiet and wrong than loud and dumb and wrong.
Correct. Troy, welcome back. I'm allowed to be biased, he says. Gibraltar Schools is the best, period. I've been all over, as you know. I have yet to find a more welcoming and established environment. I know multiple families who have made big changes to bring their children to Gibraltar Schools. I agree completely with Peyote when it comes to the tradition of fans throwing things onto the play area. It's dangerous and ridiculous. However, when it comes to your complete nonsense about Sweet Caroline, and then he takes a shot at me. So he disagrees with me, agrees with you on the overrated, underrated. Elizabeth Pate disagrees with my take on hot tubs. She sent us a picture. She's enjoying a pop that you seem very interested in.
Yes, a Dominican pop.
Hot tub is underrated, allowing yourself to relax no matter the season. And then Ken, and this is for you. He has a lot to say here. This is pretty lengthy. He thinks na hey hey goodbye is overrated. The Canadians used to play it, the Montreal Canadiens, excuse me, when they were beating a team, and he thought it was poor sportsmanship. The Red Wings have been playing Don't Stop Believing since I don't know when. The things of sending the rookies for coffee made him laugh because one of the Tigers announcers said it reminded him of the Abbey Road album cover of the Beatles. Stephen A. Smith, he agrees with me. He's too loud. Carlson support. I've met Mike P. once or twice, but I feel like I know him a little. So you being a celebrity of celebrity status, this in your TikTok account, I'm sure people feel like they know you. But he mentions Carlson. We should be so proud. He went to Melvindale. Over the years, going to the events he thinks are great. But this is where you come in. One question. I know Mike P. is a Pittsburgh guy, and I read an article about the Penguins' 60th anniversary. I know that the Pirates, the Steelers, and the Penguins are all black and gold. They were talking about bringing back the original powder blue uniforms they wore in 67, 68, 69. His thoughts, he thinks they're awesome, but he wants to know what you think about them.
Well, they have used them in the past as like an alternate. I don't know if they're talking about it being their main jersey. I mean, their main jerseys are always a version of the black and yellow, but they have worn that blue. And I think, as a matter of fact, at the very first ever, outdoor Winter Classic game, which was Pittsburgh versus Buffalo, I believe in the no longer Bills Stadium, or if it, I believe that's where it was. They wore those blues in that.
Okay,
I believe they wore those blues. So I'm not. If you rank the teams as far as me following them, they're probably third. In all honesty, I don't know if they're still in their rotation. Do you know one of their most famous uniforms, though? You know who made one of their most famous uniforms famous was Snoop Dogg, right? The Pittsburgh with the black jersey.
Oh, when he wore it in the video.
In the city across the chest where it's spelled Pittsburgh.
Wait a minute, he made that, or he made it famous?
No, he wore that in a video.
Yes,
and that's one of their most famous, and they brought that back. That's the one. If I ever get it, I mean, I'm not a big jersey guy anymore, but I always want to get that with maybe like Lemieux or Yager on the back of it.
Okay.
I think would be a classic just to own, and because that's where I am now. If I ever get a jersey with a name, I want it to be somebody that's done and it won't look dumb. I'm sure Crosby's not going anywhere either. So
yeah, that was the gin and juice, if I'm not mistaken, and that would have been my 10th grade year, your freshman year of college. Just brings me back. Such a cool video. And the dad at the end of the...
And it was just weird to see a rapper wearing of all thing, a hockey jersey, and then of all thing, not an LA Kings jersey, but a Pittsburgh Penguin jersey.
True.
So, All right, you got a mic of the week?
I do, and this one is more of, I'm sort of hoping by making him the mic of the week, it wills it into existence. I am hoping, so the Pistons... With respect to what's going on in the Eastern Conference in the NBA this offseason, they've kind of remained a little bit stagnant. And any other year, I think, to be honest with you, Mike, I'd be happy. They added shooting, which they desperately needed. They've added at least three, maybe even four guys. You got an MSU alum, Sparty alum there, Gary Harris. Actually, not alum. I think he left early and not sure if he graduated, but a Sparty player named Gary Harris. He might not be even on the team. He's gotten a little up there in age and his skill sets have diminished. But you got three other players who've been added. We needed shooting. But I think with regards to the East, so many teams have gotten better. This Eastern Conference is really going to be a true gauntlet to get through this year. In the last 25 years, the West has sort of been considered the better conference. I was reading an article about this. The East has certainly taken that mantle this offseason. You've had Atlanta get better. Orlando got better a year ago. Now they're still improving. But Toronto and especially Philly are really, really making a push. So I'm hoping by me making Michael Porter Jr. the Mike of the Week, it wills into the existence. I'm hoping the Pistons sign Duren. According to the reports, he wants the max, which is absolutely insane if you just in terms of salary cap proportions. Again, I'm with you. I couldn't care less what a guy makes, but because there is a salary cap, the Pistons will be cap limited if they do sign him to what he's hoping for, especially considering his last playoff performance. So I hope that they resolve that issue and trade for Michael Porter Jr. So Michael Porter Jr. is my Mike of the Week. And again, let's hope the Pistons make a trade for him in the process.
Let's also hope that this isn't one of those things, especially with the way the playoffs ended up playing out, that this wasn't like one of those things where, man, this was a great window for the Pistons this year, right?
I know.
Like, is that window much like the Lions? We talked about the Lions window with that NFC Championship game in San Francisco, which normally NBA windows don't slam shut. That's just not the way it works.
Right.
But I don't think it's slamming shut. I mean, I think they're still going to be a good team. I just think that as far as the way it played out, that you were going to be facing a team that you pretty much owned in the regular season and you played hard the previous season. It's not like it was a fluke.
Right.
So a lot of people, if they would have made it past Cleveland, they could have beat the Knicks. And then you had the Western team was a younger Western team that sort of wasn't ready yet. I think that's clearly what happened. Like it may have been like one of those times where, man, they probably could have won it this year. I mean, I know
Trajan
they
Langdon. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, I know they didn't, and they didn't beat Cleveland, and they didn't even go to 7 with Cleveland.
No, they went to 7. They went. To 7.
They did. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, right. They won the game 6, and then if you say game 7,
right. Did they show up there? Yeah, that's fair.
But it's just one of those things where, like, man, what could have been? But also, the Knicks were a different team than the regular season Knicks.
They were, and I was going to make that point. Trajan Langdon made that point in his offseason presser that the Knicks were not the same team in the regular season. But I do come back to the year before. With regard to the fact that the Pistons did play them really, really tough in that series
when they weren't as good.
Yeah,
they weren't as good. They weren't as good. They were not as good of a team.
Right, and the Knicks brought back mostly the same team. A couple, fringe moves here and there, but mostly the same team. So I'm not going to buy into the notion completely that the Knicks would have won. I would, if I was betting, I certainly would have bet on the Knicks, especially in hindsight. But you come back to, I was reading an article, a very good one by Sean Windsor Jr. It's kind of made me think a little bit about my own perspective. I'm one of those people that looked at the first series, the Orlando series, and says, they were a Franz Wagner injury away from not winning that series and maybe even losing 5. The flip side of that is in the second round against Cleveland, they were up 2-0 in the series, tie game with the basketball, under 3 minutes to play, and Cade Cunningham, I don't even want to say uncharacteristically because he does turn the ball over a lot. He's a great player, but he does do that. But had 3 consecutive turnovers, including one on that play that led to a basket. Those don't happen. You might win the series, and Cleveland did show itself to be a team that doesn't handle adversity very well. If the Pistons score on that possession, might win the game. Or do the Cavs come back and go from 3-0? Probably not. Who knows what happens from there? So, you're right. We have talked about that before. I'm still lean toward the Knicks would have beat us, and if not the Knicks, I don't think we beat the Spurs. But you're right. Who knows what happens? And I'm with you, and that's why I've said, one of the people on Twitter I follow that is really kind of reminds me of Max and his honesty, his brutal honesty about things. But he always says, well, what move would the Pistons have made at the deadline? I think one move gets them by Cleveland. I really do. And there was a couple guys out there that the Pistons just didn't want to go all in for. So that being said, who knows? But I think they're still young enough if they keep this core intact, to still compete. So let's hope that
Yeah,
happens.
I mean, I don't think they're going to be bad at all. I'm just saying, who knows? Like you said, it's going to be much harder, I think, next
Yeah.
year. Like, I don't see them being the one seed. I guess I'll just leave
Right.
it at that.
Right.
Okay, education topic. I hinted at it a little bit last week, and we're not gonna. I hinted at it, and it's happening, I guess. But there's been some pushback against this school district in New York that is paying for a robot to somehow work in this school. And there's pushback, of course, probably from the teachers union. I don't know about how families and stuff. So I just texted you and said, we're going to talk about this. And one of the things I texted today is like, I guess the way to frame it is one thing that you think could go well with this scenario and one thing that you think could go wrong, or like one use that you could see it being like, okay, maybe this could work, and one use where what could go wrong with this. So is that good? Does that work with you? Or are you going to, I mean,
Yeah, I'll stick with one. That's fine. That's fine.
okay. I mean, you can say as many as you want. So what do you have as something? Let's start off positive, like we always like we want to do here on Pass the Mic. We don't.
Okay, so
All right.
the positive
What
to
do
me
you
is
see this as? Like, what could work with this? What's something that could work with this?
yeah, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before. Again, one of my favorite authors is a guy named Yuval Noah Harari, who is an Israeli historian who's written about this and wrote about this in the past before. AI was it was a thing, but it wasn't. This is probably 2017. But what he talked about was these type of improvements. AI is so objective that sometimes the relationships that we have with students could hinder us. You know what I mean? And if you have a student who has been, has a past as human beings, sometimes it's hard for us to overlook that this kid has just been grading on us all year. The AI robot isn't going to see it that way, and so just the very simple objectivity of AI could be better. And you apply that even to the classroom setting. Mike, on a daily basis, I will ask the students, are there any questions? And 99 times out of 100, the answer is no. I know I'm not doing that good that every student knows what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That AI robot could hopefully scan the classroom and figure out the students that are understanding and not. So I guess if I was to narrow it to one word, it'd be objectivity.
Yeah, and I think you've mentioned that in the past, sort of like a scan, sort of like the Terminator. Like it scans the room, not to kill anybody, of course.
Sure.
In all honesty, I sat there and thought of like, okay, you got an elementary room, it's filled with kids, and we're trying to get away from everything being electronic and handing out supplies and do it like the basic manual labor stuff of like setting up stations and stuff, right? Like if you're going out to recess and you're going to do like this activity after that's involved with all these stations, while you're out with recess, this robot could be doing all this stuff, setting it up, right? Like, can it go and get the stuff and stuff like that I don't think any educator would be upset with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the route of like, okay, let's find ways that this could, not even if it's not instruction, but like just to make the educator's job easier along the lines of like, okay,
nice.
We always say, I wish I had an extra set of hands. Who knows? Maybe it could be cleaning the litter boxes that are in the rooms as well. Who knows? That might be helpful. But in all honesty, and like I said too, I think you're right. Like just having it there, because I think this is one of those things, much like when we were in college and towards the end of our high school career, right? All of a sudden we just started getting a little introduction to computers, a little bit of lab time, right? Or even in elementary school, you'd only go down for one day a week, you'd get to go play Oregon Trail or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But just that immersion, I think, is what made Generation X so adaptable into technology. Like we didn't have to work, like we just learned it, right? Like it was, but part of that is in elementary school, and I'm sure those elementary teachers way back in the day when they'd bring us to the lab were like, what a waste of time this is,
Sure.
But getting that hands on. And so now with this next era of generation, which will be AI, which will be interactive, this little bit will help these kids with what's probably coming down the road, right? Like, so that when they go to the airport the next time and it's an AI person checking them in, they're going to be showing me what to do. I'll be in line, like, where's the ticket agent, and then they're going to be like, oh no, here's, this is, Delta Danny, just do this and that. So that's twofold, some, basic things that could help a teacher along, but also like the immersion and getting used to it and getting people ready to use it.
Sure. Mike, I just had a vision when you said Delta Danny. Tom Pack is listening right now.
He's not going to turn Danny into a Delta Gate agent as a robot, is he? An android.
We'll see what he comes up with for that.
What do you got as sort of what could go wrong, or what maybe some fears that are well deserved, I guess?
Okay, so I got one, but I'm going to transition. I want to first. So the CEO of Microsoft, I watched him on a show the other day, and he was asked about because he's fully buying into this AI, and the question was, is this going to eliminate labor? And he sort of, or the need for human labor. Excuse me. He sort of sounded a caution alarm, which I want to go off of what he said first. Humans still want human things. He gave several examples. I'll give my own. I'll ask the kids this all the time. Would you like I'll give the Pistons. Would you like the Pistons if it was the AI robotic Pistons versus the AI robotic Cavs? The answer is no. We still want humans to do things. And he also mentioned what's called the lump of labor fallacy. I've never heard of this. Gary Bailey seems to be on top of these type of things. I wonder if Gary has lump of labor fallacy, which is there is a finite amount of work. And his point was there's not. These things, just like, in the past, this is different. He acknowledges that it's different from other transitions that we've gone through. But the lump of labor fallacy, the idea that we won't need humans to do things anymore, is based on this notion that there's just a finite amount of labor, and there is just simply not. So he says, pump the brakes. So just like we talked about, I think as long as a year ago, I go back and forth after seeing this Microsoft CEO who's much smarter than I am. I'm sounding I'm pumping the brakes on it. And I'm saying let's chill out on us not needing anything anymore, which is funny because about 2 weeks ago I was saying the opposite, which leads to my one area of concern. And this kind of goes back to the discussion I was having with the guys at the bar, though. If we have this robot in the room, do those kids who are less adept at communication that you and I, and the guys at the bar, we are talking about, this is one skill that we all agree we're going to need to have. Does this give them another outlet to not engage with their colleagues in school? You know what I mean? And I think that is a legitimate concern. We see it all the time. We've talked about it all the time. The kids that struggle with engagement, is this just another form where they will find an outlet from talking to other human beings? And again, we didn't foresee the problems that could arise with each student having their own laptop. It's simply, really, in a lot of cases, not all the cases, but a lot of cases, students have simply transferred what they were doing on their phones to the computers. Is this just another way of them disengaging from their classmates?
It's interesting too. I also, right next to my line, I wrote human element. So I go right along with that of like losing the human element. I also sat here and thought, as you were talking about it, it doesn't happen a lot. I'm proud to say of our IT infrastructure is pretty good at Gibraltar.
Mm-hmm.
DT infrastructure can be very hit or miss. We lost power a little bit the other day. So what happens if you're relying heavily upon these things and either the internet goes down, which sometimes happens through Wayne Risa or AT&T, or your power goes down? We don't, like, when this happens at school, we're not just like, oh, network's down. Sorry, kids, sit there and, play tic-tac-toe. But that's what would happen with the robot, right? Like, it's going to be like, like the kids are just going to do whatever. So, I mean, I'm sure there'll be backups or whatever. But, that's something that's there. It's funny you mentioned it, too, when you mentioned the work. I see these. Somebody posted yesterday, and it was like Elon Musk for over the history of years saying how by this year, 10 years from now, you wouldn't be driving cars anymore. And I think it started in 2012.
Oh, wow.
Like 10 years from now, then 2013, 10 years from now, everything's going to be he goes, definitely the expressways, 2014. And I feel like this is what we're getting sometimes with AI. Like you'll hear people say like, oh, it's 2-3 years away, this and that. And then, but then you have other people saying it's 10 years away. Like I don't, for as smart as all these people are and all the answers, how come we don't know? Like, what is it? What is the real answer? And the truth is they don't know. And like, then you see different days in the stock market, the AI companies get blasted because people found out, wait, these things aren't that great. They're all losing money and their stock plummets, right? Like, so who knows? I don't know. You think, sometimes I think the automakers would be the first ones up on this because they've lived through this once, right? With the robots, you know what I mean? Like, to me, like, it'll be very interesting to see the next UAW contract, I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure.
Because, I'm sure that these auto CEOs know what's coming. You know what I mean? Like, they're not, and I'm sure the union knows what's coming. And all of a sudden, if they come back with a very similar CBA, with the same amount of workers, I would almost think that like, okay, maybe this is a little further down the road than people think.
Right.
You know what I
Well, you
mean?
know what though, Mike? I couldn't help but think of this. I remember it was probably 10 years ago or so, somebody saying that Indiana football always seems to be 1 or 2 years away. And I remember, and they've obviously made it, so maybe this will
Maybe,
happen. But
maybe
yeah,
maybe it's closer than we thought. So,
sure,
all
sure.
right, we'll see. Well, we'll have to keep our eye on the robot. There's none that I plan on getting. I had a couple of robot professors at Eastern in college. Those are the ones I slept through those classes most of the time. But all right, boom, boom. I'll be here all week. All
Yeah,
right,
there you go.
overrated, underrated. We haven't done it the whole month of July, so we're going to do the game. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm picking the first card here. I'll do it in front of the screen so that we don't want any fake election claims here on Pass the Mic that something's rigged. All right, front side of the card, overrated, underrated. All right, here we go. Blue raspberry flavoring. Blue raspberry flavoring. You know what I'm talking about?
Overrated. Oh, so overrated. I love raspberries. I don't know why we want to improve it with this fake artificial coloring and flavoring. Raspberry in and of itself is outstanding, so that's way overrated.
Yeah,
that was easy.
I don't get this. I saw a TikTok too, like it was blueberry, like being all upset. Like, why isn't anything blueberry flavored? They're actually blue, and somehow, and again, raspberry is one of my favorite fruits.
Yeah,
Pre this whatever this parasite.
I'm still rolling with it, man.
The lady at Meyer warned me today. Make sure I wash my strawberries, and I said I'm trying to lose a few pounds anyway. The famous joke.
do you wash your fruit all the time anyway?
So yeah, well, Elisa will do this thing where she washes it all and then puts it in these
Oh,
jars, and so
gotcha.
then they're ready to go. And then like an apple or a peach or something, I'll just rinse it with water under the sink.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's my thing. Again, I think this is easy. It's overrated too. I never get it, and I like raspberries. Raspberries are probably my favorite fruit. Like if you gave me an ice cream and said, "Hey, do you want to put some or cereal?"
Yeah,
The first fruit I probably pick is raspberry. It's my like whenever I do jelly or preserves, I always go to raspberry, but I never pick blue raspberry candy. Or why can't RFK Jr. get on this? Get rid
I
of this.
know.
I mean, I think that's something most of the country can
Hey,
get
is
behind.
he a doctor or no? Okay, what do you got? What's that was the easiest
Oh,
one I think we've had.
that was easy. Okay, I think. All right, here's one: the game of Monopoly, the board game.
I love the game, so I'm going to go under. I mean, it's probably rated where it should be, but since I like it, I'm going to just say underrated. I think it's such a fun game. It mimics real life in certain ways and certain qualities, and then it's still sort of a fantasy of being rich and doing those things as well. So I'm going to go underrated because I really like Monopoly.
All right, we're going to differ on this one. I was always a game of life fan. I like
Okay,
life better than Monopoly, so I'm going to say overrated on Monopoly. And then like I don't feel as if I never played it by the rules. Like I don't know. Life to me was the way it is. So nothing bad. I don't think it's an awful game.
sure.
I just think it's overrated. Life is better in my opinion than life. The car where you put the little pegs of the people and you have the kids. That was
Okay,
always my thing. So all right, not a big. I mean, we agreed on the raspberry, and I don't think we're dying on hills with Monopoly. It's fine. I
no.
mean, look, listen. I no offense to anyone that's there. All right, hot mic take. What do you have this week?
So, I'm going to go off the continued AI digital age that we're in on that theme. This thought came across my mind this week twice. The constant bombardment we get with the digital age. And so there's two things that really have gotten to me in different ways recently. Number one is our constant availability, whether it's as teachers, whatever. The idea that now if we have these apps, I have no problem with parents trying to contact me. It just becomes a bit much when it's 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and I've had this day where I worked all day, and then we had a game or something like that, and I get home and I'm still kind of dealing with that. So the constant availability is number one. The second one is kind of annoying, and I want to ask you, and then I want to ask the listener. Um, and this is going to sound like I'm being cheap. It's not. I'm gonna call out an entity on this. Let me just ask you. We are constantly asked to tip. Do you tip every time? You're at a
Well,
coffee shop. You're at
okay,
a.
out to eat with a waiter or waitress, yes, even when the service has not been good.
I'm
Um,
talking about digitally though.
digitally, what do you mean? I don't
Like
understand. What's the
whenever. So
difference?
I go to. Okay, so in Florida, there was this outstanding custard place where we were at in Florida, $9 for a thing, and then they ask you every time if you want to leave a tip with
I
it.
can't say it's hit or miss.
Okay.
I get Sammy's Pizza all the time, and I'll do an order online. And a lot of people are like, I'm not tipping a pizza guy when I'm going to pick it up. I always give him a buck when I do my order, just
Okay.
because I know him and I see him all the time.
Sure.
Shout out to Sophia Witowski. I saw her yesterday at Dairy Queen. Did a review. Now the thing about like Dairy Queen, I used a card, but I always bring a couple bucks with me because you can't tip on a card there. So
Yes.
because
I
usually
guess
because they're Carlson,
that contradicts what I was saying.
they're
But you're right.
Carlson kids. So like if I'm going to Dairy Queen there, I mean but I don't like I'm not like I don't know. It's so weird. Like like when you think of places like Jersey Mike's or Wingstop or these counter places where you're just grabbing something.
Right. It's tough. And so I'm just saying to the employers, and I'm not talking to everybody. The mom and pop place is a little bit different, but the places you're mentioning, those are big conglomerates that are all over the place. Pay your workers more money.
Yep.
You
Right.
know?
I get it. And then there's some people though that don't tip anybody.
Yeah.
Like when I went to Chicago this past weekend, I actually had to Google because I hadn't. It's been so long since I valeted at like a nice hotel. I actually Googled like what's the going rate for like valet in a city. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I went out to eat downtown, they had it at like a rate of like $12 or 13 for valet. So it was really simple. You just gave the guy 20, right? Like I wasn't going to sit there and get change. I think that almost made it easier. So I had to, because things have changed too. I haven't done it in a while, and that sort of thing. So I mean, it's one of those. It's to each your own. And then some places, like I know at the golf course where I work, like at the food stand, it's cash only for tips. So like when people pay for a card, they don't have cash. There's
Wow,
nothing that
okay.
can be done, and
So
we don't bully or anything on it.
I think I used the word constant. Maybe I overdid it. Then I just feel like we're getting it more and more. I'm at
Oh, the
Starbucks.
machines. I know what you're talking about. The
Yes,
machines that
yes,
just flipped around on you every time.
yes.
True story. I speaking of like a pizza place, I order online at Jets. Like it defaulted to like I ended up tipping $5 because I wasn't paying attention on a carryout because it
Yeah.
defaulted to like I don't need
And you
that.
can't go back after that. You really
No, I
look bad
can't
if
go
you
in
do
there and
that.
ask for it.
Right, right.
So you know what I did? I didn't tip at all the next 4 visits. I told Elisa
Oof,
that.
you're that
I
guy.
said, well, they got my normal dollar that I get with a carryout,
So you just even it out. All right.
or whoever worked that night made out big time, I guess. So sorry about that. All right, my hot mic take. I want to give it another shout. I'm giving shout outs left and right here. Shout out to Dr. Rice, former guest. He took me to the previous Scooble game on Friday night against the Royals. Two great pitching performance there. They defeated the Royals. And afterwards, I know you guys make fun of my music taste sometimes, but if included in your ticket was a free Flo Rida concert after the game out in center field. $40 if you want a field pass. Let me just tell you, first of all, I forgot how many songs this guy has. He's sort of like Pitbull in a way. He's deceiving. Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like, oh, I forgot he did that one. Oh, I forgot he did that one. Oh, I forgot he did this one. This guy, and I thought for sure this was going to be just like, you go to these things like the fair or whatever, and these guys put half an effort into it. They just want to get in and get out of there and get their pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you this, Flo Rida was none of that. He put on a heck of a show, brought fans up multiple times. He had a special needs fan up there that he took off his custom jersey that the Tigers had made for him and his whole crew, gave it to the kid.
Wow.
At one point during the show, because I asked Dr. Rice about this, because I think it was Ludacris that was previous, or I forget who, or it was Nelly, I think, who was earlier this year. It was Ludacris last year, I think. At one point during the show, because the stage, I asked him, he's like, oh, he just stays on this stage out in center field. There was this guy, Mike, like one of his bodyguards or whatever. Flo Rida got on his shoulders. Now, Flo Rida's not a small guy. He's not he's not Nelly. Not that
Mhm.
Nelly's small, but you know what I mean? He's a pretty big guy. This guy, he was on his shoulders. He walked him all the way through the crowd on the infield so he could get and perform on top of the Tiger dugout for a
Oh,
series.
wow.
And then went over to the other dugout. And then when it came time to get back to the stage, got on this guy's shoulders. And this guy and walked him. And I'm just telling you, he played for an hour. And finally, like I told Bryce, I'm like, I got to work at the course tomorrow. We left while he was still playing. I didn't even get to hear it at my house. You know what I mean? Like, but I want to give him a shout out because I think a lot of times when you see these free shows or shows at a community carnival or something, I think sometimes people, just go through the motions. Flo Rida absolutely did not. He was a hot, sweaty mess and it was warm that night. But I mean, he put on a heck of a show. I was impressed. It was
Cool.
really good, and more than just the show, I think the effort and the way he interacted with the Detroit fans was really cool. So,
And what's cool about it too is, what you mentioned the folks that perform at carnivals. It's not an insult. Sponge is still one of my favorite bands, or local band, but they are clearly past their prime. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Florida is still. I mean, he might be on the back end a little bit, but he's still big. And
I told Elisa when I got home, and I'm like, I don't know why this guy couldn't headline something like at DTE with like another performer, or not even headline, but like, I mean, he played like an hour straight, and in a lot of his songs, he's similar to Pitbull in a way. There's always somebody else involved in the song, but you just feed in the other lyrics.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like you got a DJ there, and and I haven't looked up and see what he's touring, but I mean, that's to me like as a free concert after the show. I mean, it was, and everyone. I posted some clips on my social media, and there were other people that were there, and they all said the same thing. It was a great performance, and I want to give them props. I want to give the Tigers props. I know I rip on the Illiches sometimes and stuff, and I think that was and I guess according to Dr. Ray, they have 3 or 4 of those a year concert series.
And in the Detroit area in general, the metropolitan area, this was a big weekend.
Oh yeah.
We had obviously Florida, Jack White, Kelly Warren went and watched that, so it was outstanding. And then what's his name at the big house?
Morgan Wallen. And Friday night, the night that I think it was Lil Wayne up at Pine Knob.
Oh yeah, okay.
The Friday night Morgan Wallen. Now that's why the Ren Dog was working in Ann Arbor. My sister, I actually drove my sister and her friends and Nate out to Ann Arbor before I went to Comerica. But
did they go to that concert?
They did go to that concert.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So. All right, well, that's it. Next episode is in August. We got some special guests lined up for August, so we're going to get going with that. And pretty soon we'll be back in Studio B. I don't know. I have to go check on the. Have you ridden up by the school? How's the construction going on in the front of the building?
I was up there the other day. It looks they look to be right in the heart of it, the middle of it right now.
So it's not done, is what we're saying.
Not done. Correct.
Okay. Well, there's a home football game in August, right? I believe we're home. Yeah. So we'll be back up in the booth. So, all right, everybody, have a great week, and we will see you next week.